and welcome to another episode of New Frontiers with me, Helen, with Snoop and Star. In a change to our regular format, this week we're going to be doing some armchair travelling and we're going to meet Birgit and Dan from Canaway via Zoom. Let's find out their story. Good morning! Why don't you start by introducing yourself, where you're originally from, and describe your business?
Sure, thanks a lot, Helen. My name is Dan Marshall. I'm currently in my flat in London. Wish I was in Portugal right now. I'm in London at the moment. It's where I'm originally from. And I've spent a lot of time over the last 20 years in Portugal. But currently here, spend as much time in Portugal as I can, in the Algarve as I can. And my business is, I'm a distributor for the products of a leading cannabis company. So basically I work with or alongside a company which started you could say the non-psychoactive cannabis industry, what many people would know as the CBD industry now. And they lead the world for that. And I help distribute their products for them, whether that's in Portugal or also in other countries around the world.
So my next question is usually, when did you come to Portugal? When did you start your business in Portugal?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so I've been in Portugal thanks to my aunt actually for like about the last 20 years plus, and fallen in love with Portugal, obviously. And then I started my business in Portugal, I suppose, when I started the business as a whole, whether that was here in the UK as well, and that was about 2.5 years ago.
Why did you choose Portugal?
Because it's a beautiful, lovely place. Why did I choose Portugal? Well, for my business, I was fortunate really that the company I'm working with, they are in 40 countries and they're all over Europe. So that was a natural fit that they're also in Portugal. So that's obviously fortunate for me because it means obviously I can spend normal quality time in Portugal in other ways, but I can also build my business there because the company is officially licensed to operate there in Portugal. So for me, it's a win-win really.
Was it always your plan to start a business in Portugal, or has it sort of evolved organically?
Yeah, it was always my plan. When the business model that I work with, which is this, well, essentially you would call it direct sales and team building or social marketing or network marketing, it's often also called, is a business model I fell in love with about 10 years ago with a different company that I'm working with now. And I love the way of working in terms of how we get to work with people, with products and people and around the world. So I was always thinking, okay, well, I want to be able to do this type of business in Portugal. Because you could say I fell in love with the business model before I fell in love with a particular company using the business model. So I thought, I need this to be available to me in Portugal. So I did, going back many years, I did always want to be able to be able to run the business in Portugal as well.
Well, my next question usually is, has your business been well received by the local community? But obviously yours is a slightly different type of business. I guess the local community is not specifically your target audience. How has your business been received in general?
Oh, that's a great question, Helen. It's been received in many times with difficulty. When I first started talking to people about, well, I'm going to say the word cannabis. When I first started talking about this form of cannabis, which in Portugal was over 2 years ago, I was chased down the street often, don't get away from me because you're trying to sell me cannabis. And many people didn't understand that there are different types of cannabis, and there is one type that's non-psychoactive or one type that is psychoactive. And so when I first started speaking to people in Portugal, there was great skepticism. What exactly are you talking to me about? And for many people, they just put up the barriers and they did not want to talk to me further. But now, I can be driving down the N125 or the A22 in the Algarve, and I see big signs for CBD and hemp and legal cannabis, and I think, suddenly, a lot of people in Portugal now realize, oh, this is safe, legal, healthy, not psychoactive. It's good stuff. So the tide has turned a lot. Now, I think there is still a lot of skepticism, and I understand that. So it's still greatly a business of education. That's not necessarily specific to Portugal, but when I first started talking to people in Portugal about CBD and hemp and this form of cannabis, there was great skepticism. But now, given that Portugal is, it's one of the biggest producers in Europe of hemp, it's now sort of hit the masses in a way. There is greater understanding of it. So it's an easier business for me now than it was 2 years ago, definitely.
That's quite a fast turnaround in attitudes in 2 years, isn't it?
Yes. Maybe lockdowns have helped, I'm not sure.
Well, that kind of brings me on to my next question. So the last couple of years have been really challenging for a lot of businesses. How has your business been affected by it? Obviously you're online, so it might be different, but why don't you tell us about your experience?
Yeah, my experience has been, it's been sort of a foot in both camps there. This health industry of non-psychoactive cannabis it's still the fastest growing industry in the world. It's still grown greatly around the world during these last 2 years as it has become legal around the world. So that's been a very good thing. And also for me personally, yes, the business is, I prefer to work my business face to face, but it can be done entirely online. It can be done with phone calls. So that's been a protection for me, because I don't have to be face to face with people. I can do it like we're in Zoom now, or with calls. And in terms of selling products, that can of course be entirely online. So that's been a good thing. And the nature of the industry, it's still a fast growing industry. However, on the flip side of that, yes, it has been affected. because negatively at times, because I find, and Helen, maybe you find too, and we all find that when people are worried about the way the world is going in whatever way, and let's say COVID in this situation, they typically, and I do this, I don't want to spend new money on something, which is fine. So, but that obviously has had an effect on the business as well. So at least what I've tried to do during this period of time is keep the education going. So even if people don't want to buy the products that I work with or have this type of business, they don't want to look at something new, I can keep them informed and educated. And if further down the line that leads to people wanting to know more about what I've got and what I do, then great. So I try to keep the education going, even if it isn't actively, for instance, selling products or having people join the business.
Do you have any future plans for the business?
Oh, well, I would say simply to keep educating and to keep growing, specifically in Portugal. I do want to be spending a lot more time in Portugal, as you've done, Helen. So I want to do that. So I want to build a more growing business in Portugal. So that also, although I can do it from here when I'm here, I want to physically be there doing that. And I think the other thing that I want to do is to keep up. It's part of the business as well, of course, but I want to keep up that education. There's so many changes in this industry about what's allowed, what's legal, what's safe, what's a quality versus not such a high quality CBD oil, for instance. But this form of the cannabis industry, it's changing and moving so fast all the time. Laws are changing in many countries all the time. Keeping on top of where the industry is going and educating people on that, in Portugal and elsewhere, that'll be a key part of what I do going forward. Yeah.
And finally, do you have any advice for anybody thinking of moving to Portugal and starting a business, or just starting a business in Portugal? What would your advice be?
I would first say move to Portugal. It's amazing. It's beautiful. The people are wonderful. Everything. I love Portugal. So having an online business can be brilliant. Obviously, it can be an extremely fantastic, flexible way of working around family, jobs, other things. But I think if you can get traction with it and you can get eyes on you, if you've got something good, whether that's a product or a service, and you've got word of mouth testimonials, if you've got recommendations and referrals, it can really start to build exponentially. So I think it can be a great way to go if you can get traction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. From my experience, the type of business that I run is one where the company I work with takes care of many of the traditional things a business would have to do to set up. So for me, they deal with the licensing, the regulation, the law, getting products to Portugal. They deal with the back end infrastructure of me being able to have a business essentially selling their products in Portugal. Generally, I say to people, I think, look, if you're on the fence about whether to start a new business or not, do it. So yeah, I would say, and for me personally, if any of you out there want some education and information about what is this legal cannabis market, what are these products, what are these things called CBD oils, are they legal, are they safe, what does it do for me, what are the benefits, get in touch with me. Either maybe the easiest way is my website, which is www.helpmetohemp.com, because my email address and contact details are on there as well, or I'm just dan@helpmetohemp.com. And yeah, I'd be very happy to give any information about these hemp CBD oils and why they are the buzz thing in the health industry at the moment, what this stuff is all about. So get in touch if you have any questions or would like some information.